Chapter 1. The contact that is normal. Here is the shoulder at the top of the throw, late cocking, 90 degrees of abduction, maximum external rotation, up to 180 in the elite thrower. Watch the cuff. In this position, the posterosuperior cuff, supraspinatus and infraspinatus, is maximally tightened and meets the posterosuperior labrum. That is normal contact, present in every shoulder, in every pitcher, in everyone. Now the disease. A tight posterior capsule, the contracture behind GERD, pulls the humeral head, and obligate anterior superior translation follows, the arc shifts. External rotation gained, internal rotation lost. Contact force climbs at the posterosuperior rim, and two structures pay. First, the undersurface tear, a partial thickness, articulosided tear of the cuff. Then the labrum phrase, degenerative wear first, detachment later. Hold the hierarchy, the contact was never the crime. The contracture is. Imaging meets arthroscopy. On the left, a coronal MRI of the glenohumeral joint, the rotator cuff, and the labrocapsular anatomy. Internal impingement characteristically damages the articular, undersurface fibers of the posterosuperior cuff and the posterosuperior labrum, and MRI, best on abduction external rotation views, grades the partial cuff tears, the labral tears, and any associated cysts. On the right, the matching arthroscopic view, instrument in the joint, confirming the fraying and partial thickness damage that imaging predicts. The lesions, the algorithm, will later decide whether to debride or repair. 1992. Walsh reports 17 throwing athletes, mean age 25, with unexplained shoulder pain and no instability, and puts each arm in 90 degrees of abduction and full external rotation. Under the scope, impingement is directly observed. The posterosuperior glenoid rim against the undersurface of supraspinatus and infraspinatus. Partial articulosided cuff rupture in 8, capsulotendinous tears in 9, posterosuperior labral lesions in 12. The lesson: this contact occurs in all shoulders in ABER. It only becomes pathologic when posterior capsule contracture causes excessive contact forces. Chapter 2. Measuring the thrower. Measure the thrower supine, the shoulder at 90 degrees of abduction, the scapula stabilized to isolate glenohumeral motion, and compare sides. The definition: GERD is a loss of glenohumeral internal rotation in the throwing shoulder against the non-throwing side. The threshold: a side-to-side difference greater than 20 to 25 degrees, a slight dominant arm loss, 10 to 15 degrees, is normal adaptation. Then the total arc rule: healthy throwers gain external rotation, lose internal rotation, and keep the arc. Pathologic GERD is a decreased arc, internal rotation loss exceeding external rotation gain, a side-to-side total arc difference beyond 5 degrees. Do not confuse the bone. Humeral retroversion is a bony adaptation in young throwers, not GERD. The predictor: in 296 professional pitchers, GERD did not predict injury. Failing to gain external rotation did 2.2 times the injury risk, 4.0 the risk of surgery. Wilk 2015, 505 examinations on 296 professional pitchers, 75 injuries, 20 surgeries. The twist: isolated GERD, total rotation deficit, flexion deficit, none significantly predicted injury or surgery. The one that did: insufficient external rotation, less than 5 degrees more on the throwing side, 2.2 times the injury risk, 4 times surgery. The predictor was not the internal rotation the thrower lost. It was the external rotation he failed to gain. Screening on internal rotation alone will miss him. This is the examination the whole diagnosis turns on. Supine, at 90 degrees of abduction, the scapula held down, otherwise scapulothoracic motion hides the deficit. Passive internal rotation, side to side. A loss greater than about 20 degrees without matching total arc loss, defines the glenohumeral internal rotation deficit. And stiffness is measurable, not inferred. The infraspinatus, examined a fixed distance below the scapular spine, is stiffer on the throwing side, the posterior tightness that drives the impingement. SLAP2 is the lesion internal impingement produces. The superior labrum and biceps anchor detach. A globular sublabral contrast collection wider than 5 mm on arthrography, with posterosuperior extension, the fingerprint of a thrower. Before you call it the sublabral recess, the commonest false positive directs contrast medially and follows the glenoid contour. A SLAP tear extends laterally into the labral substance. The Oreo sign, one dark line between labrum and glenoid. Two lines, or lateral tracking, mean detachment. MRI alone overcalls, correlate before operating. Chapter 3, Rehab First. Because the mechanism is a capsular imbalance, treatment is a rehabilitation diagnosis. Conservative care is first line, 70 to 80% return to sport, with a minimum 3 to 6 month trial before surgery is on the table. The dose is written: sleeper stretch, 30 seconds, 5 repetitions, 3 times daily, cross-body adduction the same, and avoid excessive external rotation strengthening, which can worsen GERD. Then the interval throwing program. Weeks 1 to 6, flat ground from 45 feet, light intensity only, no breaking balls, no maximal effort. Weeks 7 to 12, progress to 120 feet. Weeks 13 to 16, the mound at 50% effort, pitch counts limited. Weeks 17 to 24, competition, 6 to 12 months from presentation. And it never ends, no cure, only management. Lifelong posterior stretching, or the GERD, and the pain comes back. The damage is on the undersurface, so measure, do not just name. On the coronal fat-suppressed sequence, assess the residual tendon thickness of the partial articulosided tear rather than simply reporting a partial tear. The rule that follows the ruler: under about half thickness is generally debrided, more than half is repaired. That threshold, 50%, decides whether the cuff keeps its intact bursal layer or loses it, and it returns to decide again in the surgical chapter. Chapter 4, Surgery as Salvage. Surgery and its honest ladder. Debridement alone, remove what is painful and mechanically irritating, preserve structural integrity, returns 60 to 70% to throwing, satisfaction 70 to 80% at 6 to 9 months, provided GERD has been corrected before the operation. Add the posterior capsular release for persistent contracture at 7 to 9 o'clock on a right shoulder, staying on the glenoid side of the axillary nerve, and return improves to 65 to 75. Climb to labral or cuff repair, anchors, constraint, and return falls to 50 to 60%. Satisfaction 60 to 70, 9 to 12 months before throwing, outcomes less predictable. Remember the comparison: 70 to 80% for conservative care, and the floor, 30 to 40%, never return to their previous level. Surgery is not a shortcut, it is a salvage procedure. A cautionary history: when the microinstability theory dominated, throwers were tightened, anterior capsular stabilization, then thermal capsulorrhaphy. These largely failed. Thermal capsulorrhaphy caused capsular necrosis, glenohumeral chondrolysis, and career-ending stiffness with loss of external rotation. It has been abandoned. SLAP repair in the thrower still carries notably poor return-to-pitch rates. Over-constraining, the biceps anchor removes the external rotation the thrower depends on. The modern approach is minimalism. Correct GERD and scapular mechanics first. Do not convert a partial cuff tear to full thickness. Do not repair degenerative labral fraying. Debride, release the tight posterior capsule, and preserve what still works. The elite throwing shoulder tolerates pathology far better than it tolerates the wrong operation. When repair is indicated, it can be done without completing the tear. Sutures pass through the undersurface defect, augmented with the long head of biceps, where tendon quality is poor, and the intact bursal layer is preserved, maintaining the tendon footprint mechanics. This is the ethos of the whole operation. Remove what is mechanically irritating, keep everything that still functions. After repair procedures, return to throwing requires 9 to 12 months, and outcomes are less predictable than debridement alone. The Bennett lesion. Freehill, 2020, 27 studies, 306 athletes. 52% had a thrower's exostosis on imaging, and of those, 75% were symptomatic. The lesions sat posterior-inferior in 70%, posterior-superior in 28%. It is a separate throwing adaptation, an ossification of the posterior band of the inferior glenohumeral ligament, not internal impingement itself. Treat it non-operatively first, and counsel the surgical floor honestly. Only 61% returned to pre-injury performance after operative excision or repair.